really like this lesson. This is a really fun session. Did you all have a good couple of days with Joe? I know you did some maths and you did some assessment stuff. Just pop this in the chat so you're all very high. I'll just keep chatting just to make sure you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, great stuff, thank you. I'll just, I'll give you a couple of minutes and just make sure everybody's So did you all get your handouts? Is anybody missing any handouts? I'll send you the handouts for this session afterwards. You don't need them for today, I'll send you them later on. But if you have any handouts that you need from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday or Thursday, please let me know.
Sorry, we haven't received any handout from day 1 to day 2 and today. So how can we get the handouts?
If you put your email in the chat, if you put your email address in the chat for me, I will send so there were some people who gave me emails on Monday, some on Tuesday. So if I didn't get your email, I think I had one that bounced back. Something happened with the email. But if you write your email in the chat, I'll make sure that you get the handouts. So I know that some of you got them, Angelina, thank you. I know that some of you have got your email addresses. So if you didn't get them, please put your email in the chat and I'll make sure you get them all from Monday, Tuesday. I think Joe will have sent Wednesday, Thursday for you, and then I'll send you those for today as well. So I've got some additional ones for you today. You don't need them for the session, but I'll send them afterwards, just so you've got the full set. And what I've done for you as well today, I've found some additional resources for you. I've got some additional resources that you just might be able to use just to
First ones.
I'm just going to put everybody on mute just because I can hear people at my end. It just gets a little bit of feedback. Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, so please put your emails in the chat and I can send you everything that I have. I'll send those to you. So let's get started then. So welcome back. This is our last session of the week, so it's a model science session, and then we've got a short break and then a wrap up. And in the break, what I'll do is I'll send you all the handouts just to make sure that anybody that's missing any, I can make sure I do that before we finish for the week. Okay, so just bear with me a second. I'm just going to very quickly start the recording. So welcome to your model science. Apologies for the late start. There was an issue again with the Zoom links being sent out from the training team, but this is the correct one now. I think you all got your drawing links. I didn't get the actual start link. So it all starts now, so apologies for the slight delayed start. So, modelled science. Starter activity. I tried to pick an activity that we could use as a warm-up or a starter activity that's easy to do online, which isn't always easy, but also that you could maybe use or replicate or adapt for your students. So something that is fairly simple but we could use a screen for. So in a second I will display on the screen a picture, an image of a person, a human being. This person should be recognisable to you. You should know maybe who this person is, maybe not, but let's see. And in the chat, tell me who you think you can see. So I'll give you a few seconds just to see how your eyes adjust to the screen, and then let me know in the chat who you see.
cô của ông ấy thôi.
Okay, so fairly consistent, I think. I think fairly unanimously we have an agreement that we see Einstein, Albert Einstein, just looking through all of the, yeah, I think so. I think we all agree. Okay, so let me show you a short video. I've set this video up. I'll just make sure that it's got to the right place, because sometimes what happens is you get loads of adverts. So let me just stop share and share again. Let me see if I can share this with you. There it is. Okay, right, I'm going to optimise for sound. So let's see then. Let's see who it is that you actually saw. Let's just have a look at this. So short video, and then you can decide who it is that you saw.
Curious how good your eyesight is? Take a look at this image. Who do you see? If you're at a normal viewing distance from the screen and have decent eyesight, you should be seeing Albert Einstein. However, if you see Marilyn Monroe, you may want to consider wearing glasses or contacts. Wearing your glasses right now, try taking them off and the image may change. Or if you're near somebody else, ask them what they see. The effect can actually be seen by anyone if we change the distance or size of the picture. If it's far away, you're more likely to see Marilyn Monroe, as our eyes only pick up the broad strokes of an image from a distance. But as you come closer to the image, you see the finer details of Einstein. We promise we haven't changed anything digitally. In fact, pause this video now and try walking away from your computer screen. Chances are the image will change, and at a different distance than your friends, because our eyes are all slightly different. The further away you can stand and still see Einstein, the better your eyes likely are. You can achieve the same effect by squinting your eyes to blur the photo. So what's going on? Well, this image is an example of a hybrid image, whereby a low spatial frequency of one picture is combined with a high spatial frequency of another. But depending on how well you're able to focus or pick up contrast, your eye will only pick out certain details. Up close, we're generally able to see fine details like Einstein's mustache and wrinkles, but as the distance increases, or if your vision is poor and thus creates a more blurred image in the first place, your ability to pick up details fades away. Instead, you only see the general features like the shape of a mouth, nose, and hair, making it seem like Marilyn Monroe. Love tricking your brain with illusions? We put together a playlist of our favorite ones that you can watch by clicking the screen.
Okay, so does anybody need to have their eyes tested? Did anybody get to see Marilyn Monroe? And what I've done is let me just show you my slide deck. So this is my slide deck. So you can see on the left-hand side of the page, it looks more like Marilyn Monroe. It does for me with my eyesight. It might not be for you. But on the right-hand side, I can see Einstein. On the left-hand side in the slide deck, because it's smaller, so technically further away, I can see Marilyn Monroe. So it's quite a fun activity, this. And I've done this with my students, with my pupils, where I get them to stand in different places in the classroom. I set it up before the lesson. So I know that I've got certain marks on the floor, I get them to stand there and then I show them the image and then some say Einstein and the ones at the back of the room say Marilyn Monroe, if they know who those people are. But it's just a quite fun way to start our session. So thank you for doing that for me. So let's then start with looking at a typical IPLS lesson. I mentioned this on Monday and Tuesday. For the science lesson, I have chosen a year 4 lesson that links in with a year 7 lesson. So you can see how, in terms of the IPLS, it supports the international learner to move from primary to secondary and then on through to their IGCSE programme. So it's on the human skeleton, so everybody has a skeleton, so hopefully we can all identify and have some contribution to be made about the skeleton. We'll look at some of the learning activities that you might want to consider. I'll show you the ones that I've used. Not to say they're the best ones or the only ones, but you can consider them and maybe adapt them for your own purposes. And then we'll look at how we might formatively assess some critical thinking opportunities in our science lesson. So this is where we are. Ignore the critical thinking. You've done that. Sometimes we swap these sessions over, but I think you did critical thinking with Joe. So we've got our science lesson, model science, and then we'll have a short break and then we'll wrap up. But this is what you completed throughout the whole of the week. So very well done. You've managed to survive to the end of the week. So these are your handouts. So the first one is your model science lesson handout for, I've picked primary lessons 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, just so it gives you a kind of overview of the lesson progression. I've also picked out, and I will send you the handout, which is a labelling activity. So it's for the primary age children to label the skeleton. So they label it in a more simple way. And there's also a label for the year 7 children. So the older students, their labelling is slightly more advanced. So that's this one. So that's handout 4. We've got your build a skeleton. And it's a cut-out activity, so the children cut out the different parts of the skeleton and they can create it on a page. And then I've also included a document which you can use to personalise any lesson. So although we do use it in the modelling science activity, because it's the end of the week, this is an editable PDF document that you can use to customise any of your lessons for any subjects. And sometimes it's a nice activity to do with maybe a colleague, and you thinking about different approaches, sharing some ideas. We are a very supportive profession. We need to work together to share our experience, our learning with each other to help, because it's too big a job, it's too busy, it's too hard to do this on our own. We need the support and contribution of our colleagues. So I've included that for you and I'll send these on in the break. So 2 platforms again, just to remind you, just to check really, at the end of the week, today Friday, do you all have your access? If you don't have access, please let me know in the chat and I will forward the details to Pearson to organise for you to get that access. So you ideally, if you teach in the primary sector, if you teach primary age children up to the age of 10 or 11 years old, you will be using the Active Learn primary resources. If you teach in secondary schools, you will be looking at Pearson Active Learn. This is what you'll be looking at there. So if you don't have access to these, please let me know. Oh, brilliant, thank you. So I did reset all of those passwords last week, but you will need to have your own school code. So I will check that. Just let me know in the chat. I'm just going to ask you all this question. For primary staff, so just for primary to start with, for primary teachers, do you have school code? So do you have a school code, your own schools? It's your own school code. So if you can let me know in the chat which school you are in. So if I can find out which schools don't, if you let me know which ones don't have, and then I will forward those on. So which schools don't have school codes. If you let me know the name of the school, and what I'll do is I'll forward that on to Pearson, and I'll make sure that we get you a school code set up. So you can use mine. So mine is H9FM. That's the one that we've been using this week just for training. So if you don't have it, let me know, and I will forward that on to Pearson and make sure that they organise that for you. So anyone who doesn't have it, then please let me know, and I'll make sure you get school code. So that's for primary. Secondary. So in terms of secondary schools, if you don't have access, please type SEC and then Y or N. So if you type secondary school, if you're a secondary school, if you can just type for me SEC and then Y or N. And then if you let me know, if it's a no, let me know the name of your school, and I can take that back as well. I can do that for you, I'll take that back. So you need to have access to one or other of these, or both, depending if you work in primary and secondary, to be able to access your resources.
So do I have to answer not right?
So let's have a look then at the lesson plan. So this is the lesson plan for the Year 4 unit. Now it depends how you teach science. You might have one lesson each week. You might have one science lesson every 2 weeks. You might have 1 week every half term where you have a science week. So it very much depends how you teach science in your school. In the UK, I have worked in schools where we have a science lesson every week or every 2 weeks. I've worked in schools where we have a 2-week timetable. So we have week 1, week 2, and we do a 2-week timetable. And we have science for an afternoon on week 2. So it just depends, and that will mean that you will adapt your lesson for the time that it takes. So this is my lesson plan. You will see it's exactly the same as the English lessons, the science lessons, and also the same as the computing and the global citizenship. So at the top we've got main focus, prior knowledge, key vocab, and the curriculum objectives. You've got the teaching summary, the main activity, which is broken down into core, support, and extend. So the core activity is what you want all of the children to be able to do. The support note here is maybe some children will need additional or extra scaffolding, differentiation or support. So this is a prompt to say, as an example, what you might need to do. Because they are Word documents, you can edit these, you can change them, you can add to them. So if you know that some of your children need additional support, then you can edit these documents and you can change them. The extension task is to ask the students to write a further verse for this song. I can see that my core activity is to create a song. I'm just going to put this in a bit more. There you go. I've zoomed in on it for you. So the core activity there is to create a song. So the suggestion for the song is to be based on heads, shoulders, knees and toes. So that's the melody, that's the song, that's the tune that we will use. As a teacher, personally, I encourage my children to use whatever melody they like, whatever tune they like, whatever song they prefer. So I've had lots of different songs. I had, for a couple of years, I had Frozen, Let It Go. So they sang the words of the skeleton to the tune of Let It Go because they remembered that tune. I've had Baby Shark, or if you remember Baby Shark. So it can be torture for us as teachers, but it allows the children just to create a song, not being dictated that they've got to use it this way. Again, we're active learning, they take responsibility, they can contribute what they feel would be the best way to do it. And it's quite fun just to hear how they use the melody of different songs to create a song about the bones, about the skeleton. So that is quite fun. But that is up to you. You can decide. So I can see here that my activities, one says, watch a video showing different animals move. And the other says, ask the question, do the animals move in the same way as humans? So this is part of my critical thinking question. That's a closed question, so that's a yes or no question. So let's think about which animals move differently. So who can tell me, or who can give me an example of an animal that moves differently to a human? And then we can start to talk about, as that group, that talk partnership, that think, pair, share approach between the children that sit together about the different movements of different animals. And also those animals that don't have skeletons, those creatures that don't have skeletons, such as maybe snakes. So it also says to me here, physical resources, an illustration of a human skeleton for each group of students with the following bones. So these are the bones that have been named. So on my handout, I have that handout, and you can find that handout on Active Learn Primary. And then it also says, video showing different animals move, including animals that fly, slide, jump, walk, etc. So these are things, personally, I'm going to think about. I might do this lesson as a half a day, so it might be on my 2-week timetable. I've got a bit more time, so I can be a bit more creative. If I've only got an hour to do this, I might need to think a bit more practically about what I can use in an hour, because I've still got to get this song written by the end of that lesson. So let's see what I would do next. So this is the handout for Year 4. So this is the handout. It's got all of those bones labelled. So this is the handout that you will find on Active Learn Primary that the children can put into their books. They can put these into their book. You can stick them straight in, and they've got all of those bones labelled. So this is my resource for primary. And for secondary, you've got a very similar skeleton, but it's a little bit more detailed, and they put it out and they assemble the skeleton on the page. I've got all of the words at the bottom so that they can label them, they can actually use it as a diagram. So it's taking that lesson 4, so for Year 4, onto the secondary level, secondary age group. So it's a really nice activity, so you can see the development and the depth, and that's how the Active Learn Primary leads into the I-Level Secondary that is an Active Learn. So let's have a look then at some of the things that I found. So I quite like to show my children other things that they can use as ideas. So I found a couple of videos. This one was called Animals in Action. This was a YouTube clip that I found. I also found this one. It was from the Learning Station. This was a group of secondary children. They were a little bit older, and they had created a song called Move and Freeze. So the Move and Freeze song, it was a bit like musical statues if your children have ever play musical statues. So they moved, the music stopped, and then they froze in a certain position with their body to show how their bones and their limbs could move around. And then I also found this one. So